Caleb thought he had found the kind of love people spend their whole lives searching for: deep, devoted, and unshakable. For 8 years, he stood beside Emma, believing in her even when her dreams changed like the seasons. From handmade candles to chakra readings to a failed podcast about high-vibe living, Caleb supported it all, financially, emotionally, even spiritually when he didn't quite believe in it. He told himself love meant patience, and so he gave it. Long nights spent talking her down from anxiety spirals. Quiet mornings cleaning up after another abandoned project, and paycheck after paycheck poured into her passions. But what he didn't see, not until it was far too late, was that their love was one-sided. He was building a life. She was building a stage. While he was planning a future, she was practicing her next reinvention. And the most painful part? He wasn't just her safety net. He was her audience, applauding every time she changed the script. Looking back, Caleb realized he hadn't been loved for who he was. He had been used for what he gave. And somewhere along the way, he stopped being a partner and became a prop in someone else's performance. The unraveling didn't come with fireworks. It came with whispers, with shifts so subtle Caleb almost missed them. At first, it was the quiet stuff. Emma stopped laughing at the sitcoms they used to watch religiously. She no longer leaned into him on the couch or reached for his hand without thinking. She started folding laundry in their bedroom with the door closed, saying she needed mental clarity. And her once endless chattering about ideas and dreams was replaced by cryptic phrases like energetic misalignment and emotional detox. Caleb brushed it off at first. Maybe she was going through one of her phases, another cycle of self-discovery. But then came the nights where she'd sit across from him, scrolling and smiling at something on her phone, shielding the screen like it held state secrets. When he asked, she'd murmur, just a meme, or nothing important, and quickly change the subject. The intimacy they'd spent years building had begun to erode, not with a storm, but with 1,000 tiny cracks. Caleb could feel her slipping, not just away from him, but from the life they had built. He started to notice how often she sighed when he entered a room, how her hugs turned into side-shoulder pats, and how we became I in casual conversations. She wasn't preparing to leave. She was already gone, emotionally packed up and halfway out the door. And all he could do was watch, heart heavy, as the woman he once knew faded behind a wall of self-help jargon and emotional distance. The breakup didn't feel like a rupture. It felt like a boardroom exit interview. Emma sat across from Caleb at their kitchen table, hands neatly folded, voice steady, as if she were reading off a well-rehearsed script. I've outgrown this version of myself, she said, like she was shedding an old coat. And by extension, this relationship. Caleb blinked, stunned by the calm detachment in her voice. No te es, no anger. Just corporate jargon wrapped in spiritual buzzwords. But what made it even more surreal was what came next. Nothing. No box packed. No talk of where she'd go. Instead, she continued living in the house like she hadn't just ended an 8-year relationship. She claimed the spare room as her healing space, filled it with crystals and dried flowers, and started posting vague Instagram captions about transformation and liberation. Caleb, meanwhile, walked through his own home like a ghost, unwelcome, unseen, slowly being erased. Emma gave tours to friends, called him my ex-roommate in front of guests, and casually referred to the living room as her sanctuary. She wasn't mourning the end, she was rebranding it. She moved through the space like a lifestyle influencer launching a soft reboot. And Caleb? He stayed silent, absorbing every moment, not out of weakness, but calculation. Because something in him had snapped, not loud and messy, but deep and permanent. He knew then this wasn't just a breakup. This was an audition for a version of Emma that didn't include him. And she thought she had already nailed the part. Caleb had never imagined what it would feel like to become a stranger in his own home. But that's exactly what Emma made him. After the so-called breakup, she floated through their shared space like some bohemian queen reclaiming her palace. She lit sage in rooms he paid for, hosted energy reset brunches with friends who barely acknowledged him, and draped gauzy scarves over lamps like she was curating an exhibit on curated chaos. But the final blow came wrapped in linen and false warmth. She brought someone new. Jordan, tall, hipsterish, with a smug grin and an IPA six-pack. Like he was about to shoot a lifestyle ad for kombucha. Caleb opened the door and let him in with a silent nod, choosing calm over chaos. Emma descended the stairs like she was on a Vogue photo shoot, barefoot and breathy, and introduced Jordan to her space. Caleb leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, watching the surreal scene unfold. She showed Jordan the couch Caleb built, the kitchen Caleb stocked, and the spare room Caleb painted, now dubbed her studio. Jordan nodded along, clearly enchanted by her curated narrative. Every word she said painted Caleb as the backdrop to her rebirth, the dull furniture in the gallery of her transformation. He said nothing, not yet, because in that moment Caleb understood. Emma wasn't just rewriting their story, she was selling it. And Jordan? He was just the newest investor in a startup doomed to fail. But Caleb? He was the one holding the receipts. And patience. It was 1 a.m. when Caleb made the call. Not out of rage, but clarity. The locksmith arrived 30 minutes later, quiet, efficient, and faintly amused when Caleb tipped him extra. New locks on every door, front, back, even the side one Emma never used but always claimed interfered with the home's energetic flow. Caleb didn't sleep that night. He didn't cry, didn't rage. He made himself a cup of tea, chamomile, not coffee, something steady, something warm. When Emma finally emerged the next morning, still in his hoodie, yawning like nothing had changed, she reached for the almond milk as if the house still belonged to her. That's when he spoke, tone casual but deliberate. By the way, I had the locks changed this morning. She froze, mug halfway to the counter, eyes wide. What? Caleb didn't flinch. You'll need to gather your things. You're moving out today. Her voice cracked as she sputtered out excuses, confusion, threats, but Caleb remained unmoved. You're not on the deed. Not on the mortgage. This is my house, Emma. You don't get to rewrite that. For the first time in weeks, she looked genuinely shaken. Not because she lost a partner, but because she lost the stage. She tried every card, tears, guilt, outrage. I thought you loved me, she whispered. Caleb just stepped aside and nodded toward the hallway. Start packing. It was quiet, decisive, and it shattered her illusion. In that moment, Emma realized she hadn't left Caleb. He had just finally stopped following her script. The aftermath came not with silence, but with noise, the hum of whispers, the ping of messages. The distant echo of stories Caleb never told, but now heard from everyone else's mouth. Emma, it turned out, hadn't walked away from the relationship quietly. She'd launched a full-blown rebrand, painting herself as the survivor of an emotionally suffocating partnership. To some, Caleb was a manipulative control freak. To others, a lazy dream killer who leached off her spiritual energy. There was even a GoFundMe titled, Help a Woman Reclaim Her Sanctuary, featuring a filtered photo of Emma in front of the house, his house, smiling like a fallen queen awaiting her kingdom's restoration. Caleb scrolled in stunned disbelief as she described how he tricked her into signing over everything, how she poured her life savings into renovations that consisted of thrifted pillows and a macrame wall hanging she never even finished. It would have been laughable if it weren't so calculated. People donated. Not many, but enough to fuel her delusion. Caleb didn't retaliate with anger. He compiled proof, mortgage statements, utility bills, text threads, photos of receipts, and sent a calm, composed message to their mutual friends. No dramatics, just the truth. The silence that followed was louder than any outburst. One by one, the likes on Emma's post began to fade. The comments turned awkward, then disappeared. Caleb didn't need revenge. He had something far more powerful, clarity. Emma had tried to rewrite the ending, but Caleb made sure the truth made it to print. When Damon, Caleb's younger brother, confessed that Emma had reached out to him, Caleb felt that old flicker of betrayal spark in his chest. Of all people, Damon, steady, kind, soft-spoken Damon, had always been his safe place. She said she was homeless, Damon admitted, eyes downcast over their coffee. Said you kicked her out with nothing, that she was just trying to survive. Caleb clenched his jaw, heart torn between anger and exhaustion. How much did she ask for? He asked quietly. Damon hesitated. 2,000. Caleb's breath caught. You gave it to her? But Damon lifted a hand and slid his phone across the table. On the screen was a scanned document. An IOU. Not just a scribbled note, but a formal, typed agreement. Full name, amount, repayment schedule, interest rate, and most importantly, collateral, Emma's car. I knew she was spinning a story, Damon said calmly. So I gave her a test. If she was serious, she'd sign. And she did. Caleb stared at the screen, equal parts stunned and impressed. Damon, always the quiet observer, had done what most wouldn't. He'd offered help, but on terms that held Emma accountable. No ilusiones. No pity. Just boundaries wrapped in paperwork. Desperate people don't read fine print, Damon added with a small shrug. Caleb couldn't help but laugh, dark, tired, but real. His little brother hadn't been duped. He'd played chess with a woman still flipping checkers, and in doing so, reminded Caleb that strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it signs documents in ballpoint pen. Caleb didn't expect to see Emma's father again. Not like this. Not in the frozen aisle of a grocery store, holding a basket of microwave dinners and weariness. Mr. Delaney stopped Caleb with a firm grip on the shopping cart and a voice heavy with something between guilt and urgency. "We need to talk," he said, and Caleb followed without a word. They sat outside the store with 2 paper cups of coffee, cooling too fast in the breeze. Mr. Delaney sighed and pulled out a photo album, worn, taped at the edges. A relic from a time before Emma's self-reinventions swallowed her whole. "She showed up at her door last week," he began, voice tight. "Said you manipulated her into signing the house away. That you lied. That you tricked her." Caleb chuckled, hollow and tired. "She once asked me to reimburse her for buying almond milk," he said. But Mr. Delaney didn't smile. Instead, he opened the album. Page after page, snapshots of Emma, at birthdays, family picnics, Sunday dinners. In every photo, she was there but not present. Always on her phone, always elsewhere. "We thought it was ambition," he said. "Turns out, it was avoidance." The man looked up, eyes glassy. "I enabled her. I wanted to believe she'd grow out of it. But she didn't. And I'm sorry you became collateral damage." Caleb nodded, the weight of understanding landing like a stone in his chest. For the first time, someone else saw the truth, not just about Emma, but about how long she'd been gone. It started with a message. No greeting. No context. Just venom wrapped in punctuation. "You think you've won? You think this is over? You can't hide forever." Caleb stared at the screen, toothbrush in hand, the minty foam forgotten on his tongue. He didn't reply. He never did. Emma had become a ghost, clinging to the ruins of a story she could no longer control. She spun wild tales across social media, each post painting Caleb as a narcissist, a manipulator, the dark cloud over her healing journey. In one version, he emotionally drained her. In another, he stole her money. Some friends unfollowed quietly. Others asked questions. Caleb never offered drama in return. Instead, he kept receipts, screenshots, emails, voice memos. Proof of the years he spent holding her up while she called it emotional labor. He knew that wall. It was in front of his house. The house she'd posed in like it was a castle she built. He didn't comment, just saved it. Because Emma wasn't seeking healing. She was seeking an audience. And Caleb knew better than to step on stage. But the part that stung? The comments. Strangers offering hearts, cheers, believing her. For a moment, it hurt. But then he looked around his quiet, clean home and whispered to himself, "Let them clap for the show. I'm the one who got out alive." The chaos eventually gave way to calm. Not silence, but a kind of stillness Caleb hadn't known in years. No more half-burnt incense stinging his eyes. No more lectures about moon phases or energetic clutter. Just clean countertops, quiet mornings, and the soft thump of paws across the floor. Gus and Olive, his 2 stubborn French bulldogs, became his new rhythm, demanding, hilarious, unbothered by the drama humans create. It was at the dog park where he met Mara. She helped untangle Gus from a leash disaster and laughed when Olive tried to steal her sandwich. Their connection wasn't instant fireworks. It was warmth. Safe, slow, and real. They talked. About books, bad dates, dog treats. She didn't need fixing or applause. She just showed up. And that was enough. Caleb started posting again. Not about pain, but joy. His new channel, Bulldog and Company, grew faster than he expected. People loved the antics, the honesty, the gentle humor. He never mentioned the past. He didn't have to. His life spoke for itself. Peaceful. Uncomplicated. Whole. He'd walk through fire and come out the other side. Scarred maybe, but stronger. And this time, no one else got to write the ending. In today's world of curated perfection and social media performances, it's easy to mistake chaos for passion and control for care. Caleb's story is a reminder that real love isn't built on sacrificing your peace to support someone's fantasies. It's built on mutual effort, honesty, and accountability. Don't ignore the red flags just because they're wrapped in healing language or spiritual buzzwords. Protect your boundaries, value your time, and don't let anyone make you feel guilty for finally choosing peace. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away from someone who doesn't see your worth, no matter how loud they scream otherwise.